Welcome, Professor Kathy Kip Trundle
and Professor Laura Wheeler
to Faculty of Teacher Training and Education,
Universitas Sriwijaya. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present you the performance of South Sumatra Province traditional welcoming dance.
We present this dance as our warm welcome for you all who have joined us in this meaningful occasion. Please enjoy
Gending Sriwijaya. Gending Sriwijaya dance is a traditional dance containing elements of Palembang culture in every aspect, both in performance and in historical perspective.
This dance is performed by presenting a tapa or betel leaf wood box along with its contents. Betel leaf, arkanat, lambetel, gambir sap, and tobacco as a form of respect for guests.
This dance shows the joy of Palembang girls for welcoming guests in every special event.
The origin of this dance arose from a request from the Japanese government in the Palembang residency at Hodohan to compose a song and greet guests who came to South Sumatra for official events.
Gending Sriwijaya was created to describe the splendor, refinement of culture, glory, and majesty of Sriwijaya Kingdom.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Opening ceremony of visiting professors from Utah State University and Brigham Young University, Professor Kathy Cape Trundle,
and Professor Laura Wheeler,
to Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya,
Palembang, 24th until 29th of July 2023.
The Honorable Dr. Hartono M.A., Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education,
The Honorable Dr. Rita Indrawati MPD, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs,
The Honorable Nyimas Aisyah MPD PhD, Vice Dean for General Administration,
The Honorable Dr. Ismet MSc, Vice Dean for Student Affairs,
The Honorable Professor Soni Mirizan M.A. EDD, the Chair of the Committee,
and the Honorable Visiting Professor from Utah State University and Brigham Young University, Professor Kathy Cape Trundle and Professor Laura Wheeler,
and the Honorable all of the head and secretaries of departments, coordinators of study programs, lecturers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Novalingga Pitaloka,
and I am Susi Amizera. It's a great honor for us to be here as the master of ceremony of these amazing occasions.
and we would like to welcome you all to
Opening ceremony of visiting professors from Utah State University and Brigham Young University,
Professor Kathy Cape Trundle,
and Professor Laura Wheeler
to Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya,
in Palembang, 24th until 29th of July 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to sing the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, led by Tita Wulandari MPD. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please be seated.
Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we all are aware that we start every event and occasion with prayers. So, we would like to request Mr. M. Akbar Budiman, SPD MSE, to come forward and lead our prayers. To the Honorable Mr. M. Akbar Budiman, SPD MSE, please.
Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, let's raise our hands and make dua together for a moment. Dua to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala so that our workshop and studium generals can be previous to all of us. I will lead this dua based on the teaching of Islam, and those who are not Muslim, you are placed dua to according to each of your beliefs. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Ya Allah, today in this beautiful place, we gather here to bring about an workshop and studium generals. Make this workshop and studium generals as a useful science assembly, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experience of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May the workshop and studium generals we organized today benefit to our lives, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, and lead us to be successful, productive persons, which in turn will boast dignity of our nation. Allahumma yassir wa la tu'assir. Ya Allah, give us confidence. Help us don't get us into trouble. Allahumma anfa'ni bima 'allamtana wa 'allamna ma yanfa'una wa zidna ilman. Ya Allah, benefit us with anything that you teach us, and teach us anything that is beneficial for us and increase our knowledge. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our dua. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we will listen to a report by the chair of the committee. And please welcome Professor Sonny Mirijan, MA EDD.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyil mustafa wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yamil muntaha. Respected Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya, Dr. Hartono MA, respected Vice Deans of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya, Dr. Rita Indrawati, Dr. Nyimas Aisyah, and Dr. Ismet. Respected Vice Director of Academic Affairs, the Graduate Program, Universitas Sriwijaya, Professor Sofendi. Respected Head of the Departments, Secretary of the Departments, and Head of the Study Programs, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya. Respected participants of this academic activity, both present in this room and virtually. Distinguished visiting professors, Professor Katie Kip Trundle and Professor Laura Wheeler. Greeting to you all who have assembled here and virtually at this time. It is with great excitement that we welcome you to this visiting professors activities today, July 24th to July 28th, 2023, on Stadium Generals and Workshops. We hope that your time at these activities will be personally and professionally rewarding. It is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you before you today and welcome you to this Learn community. These activities are held as an occasion in which educators, lecturers, teachers, and teacher candidates learn, discuss, and converse about current education issues. I would also like to report that in these visiting professor activities, we have two speakers from two universities in the United States. Professor Katie Trundle from Utah State University, USA, and Professor Laura Wheeler from Brigham Young University, USA. It is a great honor that today we have more than 800 participants attending this activity virtually. I believe the sessions ahead provide us the opportunity to listen to one, Studium General, which includes topics such as digitally enhanced STEM literacy, climate change education, engineering design in STEM education, science for early childhood education, and development of social emotion. Two, workshops, which include topics such as workshop on qualitative research and workshop on publishing in reputable journals. Last but not least, this activity would not have been successful without having had academic supports from the rector of Universitas Sriwijaya in allocating fund and providing facilities, and also from the dean of the Teacher Training and Education Universitas Sriwijaya in planning and organizing the activity by involving its dedicated lecturers, staff, and students to be in the committee. I would like to express my gratitude to our colleague lecturers, staff, students, and committee members, and every related people who have helped us in holding this activity. Our desire to work together and our combined strength is what this activity is all about. May your time here give you the opportunity to celebrate and extend effective practice, stimulate and recharge, and renew friendship in this visiting professors activity. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Now, we would like to have these special remarks from the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya. We request Bapak Dr. Hartono, MA, to deliver his speech and open this event officially. Please welcome Bapak Dr. Hartono, MA.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. The Honorable, our distinguished guest, Professor Katie Trundle from Utah State University, USA, and Professor Laura Wheeler from Brigham Young University, USA, the Honorable Associate Director, Graduate School, Sriwijaya University, Professor Sofendi, the Honorable Vice Dean, Head of the Department, Secretary of Department, Coordinator Program Studies, lecturers, students, administrators, and all the participants that attended of offline and online. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Professor Katie Trundle and Professor Laura Wheeler because they dedicate their knowledge and help us to many academic activity. For special, Professor Katie Trundle has been dedicate her knowledge and skill since 2016 in Faculty of Teacher Training, Education, Sriwijaya University. But I have known him since 2008 when I was her student in Ohio State University. Secondly, I would like to say thank you for the chairman of the Association Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training Indonesia that collaborate with the Utah State University since 2018. So the agenda held smoothly today. Thirdly, I'm sure that activity is very useful to enhance knowledge and skill for all the participants, especially Sriwijaya University to be world-class university in 2042 to support the international activity in Sriwijaya University, especially Faculty of Teacher Training Education. Finally, I officially open this agenda with the say, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And also the official opening is marked by beating the gong by the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. And also we invite the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education and also the Vice Dean, Chairman of the committee
To come
to
forward.
come forward for opening marked by beating the gong. Continue with taking a picture put together. And
To the honorable-
we invite Professor Safendi for come forward.
And continued by taking pictures together with the participants here in the building. Yes. And all of the participants, would you please stand up so that you're visible from the camera? Here we go. Get ready for taking the pictures with our visiting professors, the dean, vice deans, and also the chair of the committee. Cheers. All right, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite the visiting professor from Utah State University and Brigham Young University, Professor FKIP Trundle and Professor Laura Wheeler, and also the Dean and Vice Dean and Chairman and also Professor Safendi for come forward to join us here for tokens of appreciation.
Professor Safendi, would you please come forward to join for token of appreciation? All right, thank you so much for the token of appreciation. Now, it's our turn from Faculty of Teacher Training and Education for presenting the token of appreciation for our visiting professors. All right, here we go. This is Pak Hartono presenting the token of appreciation to our visiting professor, FKIP Trundle. And then the second one, we also have another token of appreciation for Professor Laura Wheeler from Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. All right, would you please stay in the front to take a little bit pictures again together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, once again, we're going to take a pictures together. All right, thank you so much. Would you please have a seat? Please give a round of applause for our visiting professors who come to visit us today. All right. Now, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now please be ready for the exhilaration and delight because we are about to catch a sight of traditional. I'm sorry. Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now please be ready for the exhilaration and delight because we are about to catch sight of a traditional dance from Palembang. Please enjoy.
Yes, Saman.
Gelombang perahu bidar di sungai musik, jangan lalu pomeli telo abang, lagak rupo penyabar dan baik hati, kakak manis berambut klimis berbaju necis, likaliku banyu batang hari sembilan, mengalir bermuara ke sungai musik juga. Elok laku ngisi rupa cindo menawan, muat adik siang terkenang malam terjago, pulau kemarau melasungi musik kesungsang, nak ke pusri laju kesesar ke Kalidoni, badan saro hati resah terguncang, ngarep ke kakak kalau begalak jadi laki. Ayah Saman, pejaknya mudah tapi saronian. Ayah Saman, nyari laki yang benar-benar stoloan. Ayah Saman, pejaknya mudah tapi saronian. Ayah Saman, nyari laki yang benar-benar stoloan. Ayah Saman, ya Saman, ya Saman, ya Saman. Gelombang perahu bidar di sungai musik, jangan lalu po meli telo abang, belagu pocing cindo menawan, muat siang tak kenang malam terjago, kaliku banyu batang hari sembilan, mengalir bermuara ke sungai musik juga. Elok laku ngisi rupa cindo menawan, muat kakak siang terkenang malam terjago, kemarau pulang musik kesungsang, Kalidoni saro pikiran rasa hati terguncang, ngarep ke kakak kalau begalak jadi laki. Ayah Saman, pejaknya mudah tapi saronian. Ya saman, nyari laki yang benar-benar soloan. Ya saman, bejaknya mudah tapi saronian. Ya saman, nyari bini yang benar-benar soloan. Ya saman.
Would you please audience clap your hands
Bejaknya
together?
mudah, tapi saronian.
And you can join with the singer to sing the Ya Saman together.
Yang benar-benar soloan. Ya saman, bejaknya mudah tapi saronian. Ya saman, nyari laki yang benar-benar soloan. Ya saman, ya saman, ya saman, ya saman.
Yeah, all right. Give a round of applause for performance of Ya Saman dance and also the singer.
Once again, give applause please for the performance of Ya Saman. Okay,
All right.
all right.
We would like to invite Professor Kathy and also Laura and also Vice Deans, the chair of the committee, Professor Sofendi, to come forward to take pictures with the singer, also the dancers. Pak Sony, Pak Ismet, Bu Rita, Bu Nyimas, would you please to join in front of the stage? Okay, freestyle. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, have a seat, please. Thank you so much to the dancers and also the singers of Ya Saman performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now with the final performance, we have come to the end of this opening ceremony.
And we would like to express our gratitude for attending this occasion. We look forward to seeing you again in the next program right after this.
Good morning. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We have summer preparation after this program. So
5 minutes? We're going to have 5-minute break before we start the Stadium General first to relax our body and mind. And after that, we are going to start our Stadium General. For Professor Kathy and Professor Laura, would you please enjoy the meal? I also have some water.
Cek cek.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Novalinga Pitaloka. It's such a great honor for me to be here as the MC of the General Lecture. And I would like to welcome to you all to General Lecture session for Math and Science Education with the theme Digitally Enhanced STEM Literacy with Professor Laura Wheeler in Palembang, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education on Monday, 24th of July 2023. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite the coordinator of General Lecture to deliver the program report. Please welcome the Honorable Dr. Ketang Wiono, MPD. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Shalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Bapak Dr. Hartono MA, Vice Dean Dr. Rita Indrawati, Ibu Nyimas Aisyah PhD, and Bapak Dr. Ismet, and Chief Executive Professor Sony Mirizon. The Honorable our visiting professor for this event, Professor Laura Wheeler and Professor Kathy Cape Trendel. Welcome to Palembang and welcome to Sriwijaya University. The Honorable invite guests and all participants, I am proud to extend my warm welcome to all of you this Stadium General. Digitally enhanced STEM literacy. As most of us, if not all of us, already know, digitalization have revolutionized the field of STEM learning by providing dynamic, interactive, and immersive experience for the student of all ages. One of the primary advantages of digitalization in STEM learning is the ability to visualize complex concepts and phenomena. For instance, physics simulation can help students understand the law of motion by allowing them to manipulate variables and observe the resulting effect in real time. Therefore, we are very lucky today to have expert in this STEM education, Prof. Laura Wheeler, to share her experience and knowledge in this field. For the information, more than 500 participants have registered in this particular Stadium General from all over Indonesia, attending this event both virtual and on-site. I believe that this event will promote discussion with participants within and beyond their particular discipline. Finally, I would like to thank all the committee who have prepared this Stadium General, and hopefully this event will run smoothly until the end. We have one pantun. Ke Sungai Musi membawa koper, melihat ikan di pinggir pagar. Welcome to Laura Wheeler. Hope you're happy and excited staying here. Thank you. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That's a very beautiful pantun from Pak Ketang to our special speaker, Professor Laura Wheeler. All right, thank you so much for the report, sir. Now we're ready to move on to our main agenda today. We are very privileged and excited to listen to our speaker. Please welcome our beautiful visiting professor from Brigham Young University, Professor Laura Wheeler, with our brilliant moderator, Mr. Jerry Araiku, SPD, MPD. Okay, give applause, please.
Thank you, Ms. Novalinga. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Dr. Hartono MA. The Honorable Vice Deans of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Dr. Rita Indrawati, Pak Ismet, and also Bu Nyimas Aisyah, PhD, who is not here with us right now. The Honorable Chief Executive of the Stadium General event, Professor Sonny Mirizon, and also the Honorable Head Committee of this Digitally Enhanced STEM Literacy, Dr. Ketang MPD. Distinguished guests and participants who are attending this Stadium General right here, right now, and also at home, I would like to welcome you to the first Stadium General of visiting professor from Utah State University and Brigham Young University. Please give a round of applause. My name is Jerry Araiku, and I will be serving as your moderator today. And the theme for this session, as I mentioned earlier, is Digitally Enhanced STEM Literacy. Sitting with us today, our fabulous keynote speaker, Professor Laura Wheeler from Brigham Young University. Welcome, Prof. Laura. You may use the microphone. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, thank you. So how do you enjoy Palembang so far?
I love it here. I love the food and the culture.
I understand you recently from Bali?
Yes, we came from Bali yesterday.
Okay, so is there any particular foods or a place to visit that you have in mind? I'm sure Dr. Katang can make it happen.
Ooh. Everywhere we went was unique and interesting and so much cultural influence. But one of my favorite things was hiking to the waterfalls and swimming in the waters of the different waterfalls. It was so beautiful.
Where is it, in Bali?
It was in the north of Bali.
The north of Bali, northern Bali.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we have similar, I think, with water around Pulau Komaro. I'm not sure if they're going to bring you there. Let's see, tomorrow or maybe the next day. Well, first of all, I would like to introduce furthermore about our fabulous keynote speaker. So Professor Laura Wheeler has recently finished her PhD program from Utah State University under the supervision of Professor Kathy Trundle, right? And is currently working at Brigham Young University. Her works associated with STEM education and some of her publication entitled The 3H Social and Emotional Learning Cycle and the Three Sisters, which she co-wrote alongside Professor Trundle. Echo Chess, now this one is really interesting for me because I play chess. A classroom game exploring energy transfer within an ecosystem. And recently, she published The Birds and the Bees, The Flowers and the Trees Breadcrumbs in Science Scope, which the opening statement is really interesting. It's a quote song lyrics from Jule Aikens. Called The Birds and the Bees. It's such an eye-catching opening introduction. So I really enjoyed reading her, and I hope for myself as well as for all of us here, we can learn so much from Professor Wheeler. So before we start the session, I would like to take a few minutes of your time to give some information how we will conduct the session. First of all, Dr. Wheeler will have 50 minutes for her presentation, and after that, all the audience, both in this room and also at home, can ask question. You will have the chance to ask question for another 50 minutes. For attendees in this room, you can ask Professor Wheeler directly by raising your hand. And for the audience at home, you can type your questions in the chat box in Zoom meeting during or after the presentation, and then I will read your questions. You may use English or Indonesian. And be reminded to introduce yourself, your name, and also your institution. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Laura Wheeler to start her speech. The time is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and listening to this talk on technology-enhanced STEM literacy. And thank you for inviting us to your university. Today, I would like to start with an introduction, and then we'll move into what is STEM literacy and what does it look like in the research currently. Then we'll talk about technology or digital literacy as it's defined in the current research, as well as how some practical tips and trips for how we can digitally enhance STEM literacy. And finally, some conclusions with questions. So why STEM? Why should we study STEM? And as educators, why is that important to us? The recent research suggests that STEM literacy in grades K-12 is essential for each and every student because it promotes and fosters in students innovative thinking, collaboration, creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking, and communication skills. That's a lot. Let's break that down a little bit. To explain in more detail, students are faced with problems such as deforestation for palm oil production. When students develop STEM literacy, they are better prepared to problem solve and use critical and innovative thinking through collaboration. The development of STEM literacy may create a populace that is better and more informed consumers of information. What is STEM literacy? It is the ability to apply concepts from science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to solve problems that cannot be solved using a single discipline. Problem solving using the STEM disciplines requires knowledge, skills, and critical thinking. Research by Tekakasit and Nolsuk developed a model to describe STEM literacy. It is multifaceted and required identifying and solving problems through STEM knowledge and application, in addition to communicating and making informed decisions based on STEM. If you would like to conduct research or are interested in STEM literacy, the newest research suggests using an equity-oriented STEM literacy framework, such as this particular framework developed by Jackson and colleagues in 2021. It positions the researcher to question and address who has historically and traditionally had access, opportunity, and felt a sense of belonging in STEM fields. It allows for the additional vocabulary to describe STEM literacy as an objective for all students, and not only for those that are pursuing STEM careers. This emphasis on all learners humanizes STEM education and will hopefully bring about societal change. Technology literacy includes the knowledge and skills to use technology to evaluate, create, and integrate information in a safe and responsible way. The benefits of including technology as a part of STEM education from the research suggests, one, it improves the curriculum, but it also improves student outcomes. It can facilitate collaboration and creativity. It enhances knowledge construction. And when we include technology, it increases the access to STEM. It's that humanizing quality. The International Society for Technology in Education recently has produced standards. Their vision is using technology to create transformational and equitable experiences for all learners. They created standards for education leaders and for students. This should allow STEM literacy to increase. Leaders use the technology to increase equity, inclusion, and digital citizenship practices by ensuring access to skilled teachers. Leaders engage in establishing a vision, a strategic plan, and ongoing evaluation cycle for transforming learning with technology. They should also support educators in using technology to advance learning that meets the diverse learning needs. Cultural and social emotional learning needs of individual students. It can inspire a culture of innovation and collaboration that allows the time and space to explore and experiment with digital tools. Leaders build teams and systems to implement, sustain, and continually improve the use of technology to support learning. Also, leaders can develop the skills needed to lead and navigate change, advance systems, and promote a mindset of continuous improvement for how technology can improve learning. Technology education or technology literacy, there are two main ways that we accomplish this. It can be included in STEM, such as where we learn about technology. But the other way it can be done is where we learn using technology as a tool. And I'll provide some examples for you. When we use educational technologies as tools, here's some examples. Online learning interactives. And this has been a real big change in education in the last 10 years. So I work with both elementary, but primarily I've worked with secondary STEM educators the last couple years. And when they come into the education program, they are not as familiar with online learning interactives. But once they incorporate them into their teaching practices, they are able to reach more and more diverse students in their classrooms. We can also use simulations, augmented reality, and virtual reality in our classrooms, as well as digital gaming. However, research by Hyatt has suggested that there are some basic hindrances to technology in our classrooms. One is cost. As we know in education, we don't always have a lot of money to spend in our classrooms or always in our schools for the infrastructure to guarantee. During the pandemic in the United States, a lot of schools realized they needed to have more funds for technology for online learning in case schools shut down again. And so that really brought to the forefront of a lot of researchers of how can we get more monies into the schools so we can improve technology. So we've seen more students having access to technology lately, which is also a gift. But there may be insufficient hardware or software. Another problem is teachers may lack the pedagogical understanding, having not received it in teacher education programs, on how to incorporate technology to enhance STEM. And so what leads to another problem, which is the lack of teacher training and the need to hold professional development on how to use the technologies to enhance our STEM learning. When we use online interactive learning, research suggests that there are some really great benefits, one of which is it broadens the reach. So if we have students who cannot come to school every day, or if there are students who have special needs or in special populations groups, they can still access through online interactive learning. But it holds the other benefit of deepening our understanding in the STEM disciplines. Some examples of this are Google Classroom, Canvas, and Nearpod. Why I like these is they're free. And we don't always have money in our classrooms, but I like that more and more companies are thinking, how can we create these online interactive learning that are free for teachers? So if you are not familiar with Nearpod, I want to take a minute to introduce you to this free online program. Maybe I can get it to pop up. Oh, I'm not gonna have to log in, that's okay. I will just pop back out of that, then I won't have to log in. Thank you. If you are not familiar with Nearpod, go to nearpod.com. Nearpod allows you to create online presentations that are interactive. The other thing that is really nice about it is it already has lessons that are done and completed that you can use, or you can create your own. If students have access to a cell phone or tablets or computers in the classroom, just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you've ever used Nearpod. No? Yes, this is exciting. This is good because now you can try it. Nearpod allows you to integrate quizzes, the drawing of pictures by your students, which can be uploaded to the front of the class. You can upload games. So it's kind of like using PowerPoints, but now they're more interactive and fun, so everyone in the whole room can participate and use them. So go to nearpod.com and explore and try this. So much fun, but engaging and reaches more people. And it's free. Yes. That brings us to simulations. Online simulations are changing STEM education. They are broadening the access. And although we cannot go to space and we cannot practice or do scientific experimentation in space, we can do them in an online simulation and we can see what that would be like. Raise your hand if you have ever gone to a FET simulation. You have. Yay! But for the rest of you, yes, that's exciting. Now we can try something new. FET simulations are amazing that we can enhance digitally our STEM learning. I'll try going to this one. All right, I'll let you switch. FET simulations allow you access to free online lessons that have already been developed. They already have interactive worksheets. Teachers have already done all this for you. Or you can create your own and share them in your own language, so now other people in Indonesia can do the FET simulations in native languages. They are in physics, chemistry, math, earth science, and biology. I'll show you an example. Let's go to earth science. There are all these free, available interactives. I love it because it's free. Nobody has to pay to use these to enhance your STEM literacy. This is a wonderful project. If I want to learn about the greenhouse effect with my students or the solar system, now I can have my sample learning goals. It will go over all the different features, any system requirements that are needed. It will also, if you log in, as a teacher, it will give you access to lesson plans and for different grade levels. So if you want to use this for a high school lesson or an elementary lesson, it will help you come up with some strategies. And now you can use all these, that's the teaching resources, as well as activities and translations. And it gives you opportunities to experiment in real time. This is a really wonderful feature to try and incorporate into our STEM learning. Here's an example of what I can do. I can learn about waves or layers or photons. And you can introduce different variables into your learning. And you can manipulate those variables. And they have an online simulation for almost every STEM concept you can think of. So that's just an example of a way that we can digitally enhance our STEM literacy. Yes. Another one, this would fall under the category of not learning using as a tool, but actually learning about, is a free online coding program that everybody can access. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of or tried Scratch. Good, I'm so glad. Scratch is a wonderful digital tool for learning to code. Now, this is wonderful for elementary children all the way up through high school. This is done as block coding. Teachers can create, and your students, a free account. And when they do, they learn to code by manipulating small graphics. And they can design their own games, their own pictures. Students will spend hours on this because they are intrigued and wanting to learn to code, but they can make it their own. So they're learning STEM, but they're also learning about coding at the same time. And they have free online teacher trainings. And so anybody, anywhere can sign up for these teacher trainings, and then you can know how to use this with your students. Again, I like to emphasize the free access digital tools. Another wonderful site is called specific to earth science. And this particular website is wonderful because it will provide for you all the free online digital tools that you can have access to with your classroom. So you'll see on here, they also have that company Scratch on here, which is the coding, but they have so many other featured projects on here as well. And a lot of them come in different languages as well. Oh, yeah, this is the Scratch website. So I just want you to know of a lot of these different programs that are available for you. Sorry, I'm really making them work today. There's also sites for math that have whole lists of free math online learning opportunities for the students. Another opportunity, this is recent and more new, is augmented and virtual learning in classrooms. The research states, 1, it's very engaging for students. 2, it puts students in an immersive experience and it increases learning outcomes. One drawback, according to the research, and obviously, is an expense and having access to something like this. But if you learn to write grants and create opportunities for your classrooms, this is a possibility for the future that I wanted you to be aware of. But I also recognize that it may not be as accessible because of potential costs. Digital gaming is another way that we can enhance STEM literacy. According to research by Wang et al., it will enhance learning, and it acts as a formative assessment tool. In other words, a quick and easy way to check and assess what your students have learned up to that point. However, suggested uses from research suggest only use it occasionally as such as in a didactic break. I could stop right now and quiz you to see if you've been listening or not, but I won't. But that's a way that it could be used. Also, it could be used in collaboration with other modes of teaching and learning. An example of this is Kahoot. Are you familiar with Kahoot? Okay, most people know Kahoot, right? We use that one quite a bit. But I want you to know that Kahoot is not the only one. It's actually one of the older ones. There have been a lot more that have come out in the last couple of years because of the pandemic and then switching to online learning. They now have a lot of digital gaming that can be embedded into our presentations online and for online learning. But most people are familiar with Kahoot. But some teachers don't use it correctly because they'll just have a whole lesson of nothing but Kahoot. But the research suggests use it during didactic breaks and in collaboration with other modes of learning. I am finished with my presentation, but I would like to be able to take questions from all of you.
Check. Okay, thank you, Prof. Laura Wheeler, for that insightful presentation. So I think our faculty also trying to digitalize our learning by this dry lab project with all the vice deans here and also Dr. Ketang. So we have this project for this year. So wish me luck. Wish us luck.
Okay.
Okay, for participants, both in this room and also at home, you may ask a question to Professor Laura. So for the first session, I will take 3 questions. The first 2 questions, maybe I will offer to students in this room. Please. You may ask Prof. Laura to do some demonstration maybe on some of the applications and website. She already introduced us. You might ask in English or Indonesian, and I will try to translate your question to Prof. Wheeler. Oh, okay. I have a question for Professor Wheeler. The first one is that the online learning has 2 main advantage. The first one is broaden reach, and the second one is deepens students' understanding, if I'm not mistaken. But most case, students who learning at home, for example, via Zoom conference meeting, for example, they don't really pay attention to the instruction. So how do you cope with this?
That's a really good question. So I'm going to, if I can, I'm going to pull up Canvas. I didn't get into it before, but I'll pull it up now and I'll show you how instead of using a traditional form like slideshows, if we use Canvas instead, then we'll actually increase participation and enhance learning. So if I can go to that right now, I will pull that up this time, and then I can show you how you use this particular tool. Oh, let's see. It wasn't Canvas. Let's see. I'll go back to my presentation. Oops. Nearpod. Let me show you Nearpod. Yeah, and then I will, no, you're all welcome to look. It doesn't matter. Okay, so maybe one of you could raise your hand and tell me a subject that you would like to teach or a lesson that maybe you would plan on teaching in the future.
Ya, buat teman-teman kira-kira nanti mau ngajar apa? Gitu lulus. Okay, we have mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry. Yeah?
Okay, get more specific.
Lebih spesifik mungkin subjeknya apa, materinya apa? English, ma'am. So it's still too general.
Like, do you want to teach about motion in physics?
Motion.
Motion? Okay. You could create an account. You could come in and you can look up ones that have already been done on motion. You can pick by grade level or by subject. So let's say I want to do a lesson on friction and motion. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. We'll give it a minute to load. And it will have a sample lesson that you can already have built for you that you can try. We'll see if it will load here. We'll just try going out and see if we can get one of these to load.
Jadi nanti teman-teman kalau pakai Nearpad ini sudah ada sampel bahan ajarnya gitu ya, yang bisa dipakai untuk ngajar nanti.
It's okay. It's just taking a minute to load. We'll try going out. Maybe it's a little frozen. Is it? It's not navigate. Oh, there it goes. Okay, they are not pulling up the ones, but maybe I could show you how you could create your own lesson. So if you create a lesson that you want to teach, it will have a tutorial that walks you through on how to do this. So one thing that you can do is you can do the traditional slides. Or you can embed a PDF or a PowerPoint or images, audio. Those are things we're already familiar with. But what is great about this is this allows you to add interactives. So now I can add a video with any questions that my students have to answer, web content, a 3D animation, a PhET simulation, which I showed you before. You can actually embed these in here, so now your students are doing the interactives, or a virtual reality field trip. So I could take them on a field trip of a city in Indonesia and they can scroll in and do 3D views and look around. I'll give you an example. We'll see if these will pull up. Some of the other options you can do is stop at the end of the slide and give your students a quiz. See if they're paying attention, if they've learned something. You can have them draw. So in science education, we want our students engaged in the practice of modeling, and that includes drawing. And so if we ask our students, what do you think this force would look like? Now I can have them draw it out instead of just using words, and they can upload their drawing. They can do fill in the blanks or a memory test or time to climb. In this particular one, the students answer questions and then they build on each other and they have to climb to the top. And they can even do matching pairs. And all this is built right in, and they have to do this to follow along with you, so it keeps them engaged the whole time. You can also do discussions. So you can be presenting a lecture, and at the end of the slide, you can stop and say, What do you think? And now they type on a collaborate board and then it pops up on the front screen. So now as the teacher, you can see what they think and what they're learning. And now they can see what all their peers in the classroom are thinking and learning. And you can take a poll or ask an open-ended question. And if you're doing this consistently through your presentation, now they're not getting bored and playing on their phones when they're supposed to be engaging in the online lecture. So I just wanted to introduce you to a lot of these different options that are available to embed in Nearpod. And again, like I said, it's totally free to use. So let's see if I can give you an example of a VR field trip. We'll see if these will load. So here are some wonderful virtual field trips that your students can go on and see and learn about. Let's see. There might be. Yes, here is, they could go on and see the Utah State Capitol building. Or they could go to Utah Lake. And now they can take a virtual field trip around it. So this is kind of that VR, but it's without having to pay for the headset. Sure, let's see. Okay, here we go. This is one of my favorite arches. It's called Moab, Utah. This is famous because in Moab, it has preserved dinosaurs where you can see the tracks, like they walked 200 million years ago through the sands, and you can still see them there. And this is a really popular place for recreating in Jeeps when they try to take their Jeeps and climb up the rocks, but it also has beautiful arches. So that is a really good point. Arches, the sandstone in this area is very red. And it was laid down during the Jurassic period. This is called the Navajo Sandstone Formation. It's about 175 million years old when it was a giant erg sea, meaning a giant desert sea of sand. And when this erodes, it creates these arches sometimes. They're very delicate at times, but they are beautiful. So you can take your students and they can navigate around and they can look around this area and move and see just about anywhere they want. Creating windows through time. But you can take your students probably anywhere in the world. And what I love about this, especially for STEM, is you can say, make some observations. What do you see? Write down those observations and then post those on the board. And now it's highly interactive for your students. You can see this is a particular called Corona Arch. And you can navigate through these sandstone. There are hundreds of arches. Well, you have a national park called Arches National Park. People come from all over to come and hike and view these. But there's lots of them all over southern Utah. Oh, yeah. Notice how desert-like it is. But there's still beauty even in the desert areas. So this is how you could use virtual reality. I want to show you how you can use some of these other features. Again, this is how those PhET simulations I show you can have your students be doing those, but I'll show you the Draw It feature. Also, you can create these Nearpods and you can assign them to your students. So for instance, they have to go through this slide by slide at home, or you can do it where it's all in a classroom and they're doing it at their individual seats. So either way, you can also have them do math formulas and write it out and type it and then post it on the board. So as a teacher, you can quickly look and assess and see what they've written. So you can have them, if you've assigned them to draw some force vectors, you can say, which is the direction of this force? And now they can draw it out. Or you can ask them to do multiplication or any other math things on here, and then they upload it, and now it will show up on your screen as a teacher behind you. And they can color or draw and import images as well. So just a very highly interactive tool to use in education that I hope answers your questions of how to keep them engaged.
Yeah. Amazing, and I think it answers a lot of participants' questions as well. We have some questions posted in Zoom conference meeting. Oh, wait, I'll open this first. Okay, this one is from Alfitriani. I'm not sure where she came from. How the weakness of learning teaching, what is the weakness of learning teaching using VR or AR?
Well, I think the biggest weakness is that it can be expensive to integrate into your classroom if you don't have access to headsets. However, like I just showed, there are ways to get around that when it can be used as a free tool in any classroom. And although they won't have access to the headset, you can still allow them to use the option here in Nearpod to make observations and to ask questions and to conduct experimentations this way.
Wait, another question from Wiwit Artika. This one, I have introduced that technology, in quote, in STEM could be mean as tools that is human-made. Can we include that any simple tool as T in STEM?
That's a really good question. So when we talk about using equitably based STEM frameworks, that is a question we need to be able to answer. Is any human tool count as technology? And the research says yes. So for instance, in the United States, we have indigenous populations, and they have wonderful tools and ways of making, such as cloth weaving, pottery making, and this is demonstrative of their technologies and the ways that they communicate and ways that they interact with information. So research says, yes, it is still a technology.
Okay, so any tool that you can use in your learning, in STEM learning, can be counted as the T
Right.
in STEM. Okay, another question is from Wawan. So please explain in more detail how to realize each element in STEAM, STEAM, in a classroom lesson. This might be explained in an example of technology-supported learning.
So how it can specifically relate to science, engineering, and mathematics? That's a really good question. So when we think about learning in STEM, if we put the S on one side for science and we put mathematics on the other side, the wonderful thing about technology is it bridges mathematics and science. And that technology can bring the two together. Sometimes it's difficult for students to realize that mathematics and science and engineering are very closely and interrelated, but when we use technology, it bridges that gap between them. So now they can see that if they use an online interactive for science or engineering, building, and mathematics, technology allows them to see how they work together and that they're not, in fact, separate, but they are collaborative. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, very much. The next one is from Sandy. This one is really interesting because I think this is current issue. Nowadays, we have issues about ChatGPT. I'm sure everyone know what is ChatGPT, or other AI apps used in education. How far these technologies could impact education practices, and how we can prepare ourselves for those impacts.
That's a really great question that we should all be thinking about. And one way that we can learn more about this specific topic, in my presentation, I mentioned this organization and group that's creating international standards for technology. And one of those, that group, pull this up, went too far. Is called the International Society for Technology and Education. And they are trying to be proactive, meaning we shouldn't be simply reacting to this when our students want to use this AI technology, that we should instead embrace it and learn how to use it to our advantage and to learn about it. So if you go to their website, this is very helpful, the ISTE, so maybe I'll just go there really quickly and then I'll pull up the website so that you can see how they're trying to be proactive. And so now in research, we can use this to our advantage. Let's see, how can I pull up the websites to go? Shoot. So one thing that they are working with is learning more about AI and ChatGPT. So you can click here and go learn more. Okay, and I'll let you switch now. Oh, maybe this isn't the right one. Let's see. Back. But one of their suggestions is by creating standards where we don't simply ignore that this technology exists, but that we learn how to use it to our advantage, suggests that we teach students how AI works, and that we can actually teach them how to do, how to use it by creating good prompt questions, and then how to take the responses from AI and then check to see if they're factual or not, and that we could check something that AI writes versus what they have come up with, because when they enter into the job force, if AI is a part of that, then technology literacy would suggest then that they know how to use it responsibly and equitably. And so there are some really great suggestions on this website. I just think it's frozen just a little bit right now. Sometimes when you try and share things through Zoom, it freezes computers, but there's some really great suggestions on here.
Well, I think we have question from audience in this room. Okay, do we have a spare microphone? No? Okay, can you use mine?
Okay, so thank you for the chance. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Devin, and I'm from Mathematics Education, Sriwijaya University. So I would like to ask about Nearpod website. From this website, I can see how the specific materials are simulated, and I think this simulation is more suitable for more practical lessons, such as physics, chemistry, and biology. What about mathematics? As we know that mathematics is abstract, and students are sometimes lazy to learn abstract things, even though these things have been simulated properly. And yeah, because this the thing is not concrete, it is abstract. So what do you think about this? And I know you have already provided an example in math with formula, but this is still abstract. So can you provide any example like animations from this Nearpod website on math? That's all, thank you.
Let's look in there for math. There are a lot of math lessons created in there. If I can... Okay, let's see if we can get a math lesson to pull up. Are you familiar with exit tickets in education, the use of an exit ticket? So before students leave, we do a formative assessment and we check for understanding. So one thing they do is they have all these built-in assessments, meaning before students leave, they're going to be assessed. And that's one really good way. But we call those exit tickets. KWL charts are your students at the beginning of the lesson create a what I want to know. Then they can, or sorry, what I already know. And they can tell you everything they already know about the math, because some students know some math already, and then they get bored. But then they can make a list of what do I want to know. Now, as a teacher, you can already see this on the board and you're assessing, this is what my students already know. I'm not going to bother teaching them something they already do so they don't get bored. What do they want to know today? And then by the end of the lesson, they can now say, this is what I have learned. And they can write or draw what they've learned that day. So you can incorporate more surveys into them. But the other thing that's great, I hope this pulls up. Like I said, sometimes we do math, but we keep it very separate from STEM. And so it becomes very abstract because students rarely just go outside and start doing math. But if they see math in nature, then they're more likely to combine those and do those together, which is what we want technology to do, is bridge science and mathematics, so it's less abstract. So one thing that we can do is we can take our students into nature and we could say, create a graph of the number of whatever it is they want to see in the classroom or outside, and they can now plot that. And they're showing that they can create ways to communicate information through graphs. And now graphs are not just these things we have to learn in a classroom that are abstract, but they're ways to communicate information to other people, and they can graph what it is that they're seeing in nature. So it provides opportunities to create graphs. Then they can share them with the class, and their graphs will pop up on the board, and now everybody can see everybody else's graphs, and they can see what information does this communicate. And so the great thing about using technology is it's the communication aspect. I've learned this, but now can I communicate with my peers what I've learned? And now I see everybody else's graphs, and I can evaluate how does my math and how I've solved it compare to everybody else in the classroom. And then once again, I can learn. Now, another thing you can incorporate into these with mathematics is think, pair, share. That's what we call it. Are you familiar with think, pair, share? Okay, but you can actually add a think, pair, share where the students know they have to stop, think, share it with their neighbor, pair up, and then come back and explain it on the Nearpod, and then they can share it with the instructor. And so it builds in think, pair, shares. But this is just one example of that with, they can graph on here as well and do other problems. Let's see. And of course, these are all done by grade. So if you want mathematics lessons for second grade versus all the way up to secondary and 10th, 11th grades. But reading time and clocks, and they can draw that, share it, all that they have lessons for on here. So I hope that answers your question, but lots of math lessons on here as well.
And if we don't find what we need, then we can contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can create your own and then share them. And you can put them in your own language and share them with any teachers in Indonesia that want them.
Okay, amazing. We have another question here from Zoom. This one, this one is from Kadarisman from Ciamis. Ciamis is a city in Java. How about social, emotional learning topics? Could STEM used for it?
Absolutely. Remember that one of the things we're focusing on here in equity-based STEM education is communities of learning and communicating. And one of the positive effects of communication and creating community in STEM and making it accessible for everyone is that now it's social. And like I've mentioned, when you use Nearpod, it becomes a very social activity. And so that's the social part. The emotional part is when they can connect emotionally both to what they have learned, but what they can see their peers are learning as well. And that's when we want to take mathematics and we want to discipline, cross-discipline with science. Now there's an emotional connection and it's not just in isolation.
Okay, I will offer another opportunity for, okay, we have two questions. Maybe from our MC, Miss
Okay,
Susi.
Thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Susi Amizera. I am from Biology Education Program. Actually, I so interesting with the material, especially for the virtual reality, especially for virtual lab. I do agree that it can help us, virtual lab can help us for facilitating the laboratory activity. But actually, I am afraid students don't know how to use the tool and material well in the reality. So I'm afraid they can use the technology. They can use the virtual laboratory. Then they do it in laboratory activity in real. So my question is how to solve it? So that the students can use the technology and they also can do the laboratory activity well. How can balance it? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a real question. Do you remember in my presentation I said that one of the things that's needed is teachers need training and that we need to provide professional development. And one way that you can do that is in your teacher education programs is you can practice this on each other before you go into the schools. That's really helpful and important because your question is how can we teach this to our students so that they know how to use this well as a tool? You have to start by practicing with each other and learning how to use this. Then you'll feel confident and you will be very comfortable with the technology so that now you can implement it and teach to your students all the aspects. So I would say, play around with it, spend time with it, get to know it and practice on each other and use it in your classroom presentations with each other. And then the students, they know technology. They know how to unlock iPhones by the time they're 2 and play games. They're smart. They will pick it up quickly if you know how to first, and then you teach it to them. I'm going to go back really quick to my math person over here, and I want to show you this interactive activities for math, but this is at a secondary higher level, and I'm going to share this screen with you. This website is a whole list of interactive mathematics tools that you can use online, and they are all free. But this is more at a higher level, but I just want you to know that these are wonderful for bridging that gap between engineering and mathematics and science, but too much to go over all at once. So much, and you can embed these, take any one of these activities and embed them into Nearpod. So if you're going through a presentation, you want to stop and then say, we're going to learn about linear function machines, and now the students can practice that. But I just want you to see the amount of time that people have put into this for mathematics, and there's 100 or so on here of different mathematics that you can use.
Okay, Devin. Okay, Miss Susie, do you have any follow-up questions? Okay, we have another one, I think, raise her hand.
Yes. Okay, thank you for the opportunities. Let me introduce myself. I am Sabita Husna from Physics Education. I'd like to ask 2 questions. There is a technology section on STEM that require us to use technology. For STEM learning in areas where it's difficult to get internet or technology, how do you solve it? Is there any other solution to implement STEM-based learning?
Did you say physics?
Yeah, physics.
Oh, okay. Now, every classroom I ever taught in when I was a classroom teacher was so poor. We had no money for science supplies. And I'm a physics teacher. What do? Right? But for some reason, my students all had phones or access to phones, right? I'm going to show you an app that is amazing for math and physics. Okay, do you have a phone? Okay, I'll show you the app. And now you will just have saved thousands and thousands of dollars because it's all free and on your phone. This is called, see, I'm a science nerd. I keep science apps on my phone to play with. Okay. just have to find my app because I have too many on here. Google Science Classroom. So if you go to your app store and do Google Science Classroom. Google Science. Okay, can you find it? Or science? And then the other thing that you can search for, this one will come up. It looks like an orange app. It's called Phi Fox, spelled PHYPHOX. So in some countries, it's still called Google Science Classroom, but in some, it's called Phi Fox. So PHYPHOX. If you go to the App Store and download this, this is amazing. I always show the teachers in my classrooms this. Okay, so if you get Phi Fox, I wish I had a way that I could show this to people online. But your phone has sensors built into it. It has a microphone, and believe it or not, it's got all these sensors that can be used in physics. And you don't have to spend a dime because it's free. So for instance, you'll notice on here, it has sensors. For instance, your students can do acceleration. So they can take their phone and put it on a skate and send it down a ramp, and it will graph it for them, and they can see the acceleration. Or you can somehow use your phone and accelerate it. You can use it as a gyroscope. They can learn about GPS. They can do a magnetometer, or they can measure the pressure on their phone, which is pretty cool that your iPhone can measure air pressure around it. It could also do audio, and it can measure Doppler effect, frequency, autocorrelations, amplitudes. But it can also do an applause meter. It can do inelastic collisions. So you could take two phones on skates, and if you crash them together, it will actually graph, and they can measure that. It could do the spring and the K constant. They can figure that out. It has inclinations, magnetic spectrum analyzers. All that is free on your phone for your students to use. And now you have access to technology. If you Google using Phi Fox lesson plans, you can get free lesson plans and how to use this technology. So access to hundreds of free lessons and how to use technology without having to spend a dime.
Okay, thank you. And second question, can you provide concrete example of learning using STEM that integrates science, engineering, technology, and mathematics in one learning theme? For example, deforestation or global warming or other themes.
So ways that you can integrate all the STEM
Yes.
in something like global warming?
Yes, global warming.
Okay. So the way that I think this is easiest is through the PhET simulations. They have about 5 different global warming simulators. And they can graph it. They can actually take data and they can analyze the data. So they're using technology as a tool, but they're analyzing data, which is the mathematics portion, and they're using their science reasoning to make observations, ask questions, conduct experimentation, manipulate variables. And so I would say PhET is the best way for online simulation technology to integrate the mathematics, engineering, and science.
Okay. Okay, thank you for
Yes.
your explanation.
Okay, thank you. What's your name? What's your name again, Miss?
Sabita Husna.
Usna.
Yeah, Husna.
Husna. Okay, we have another question. This one is from one of our professors in this university, from Mr. Yusuf Hartono. The question is STEM a teaching model or a learning approach?
Ooh, that's a really good question, Hartono. I would say that it can be both. It depends on how you're using it. So one thing that is tricky in the United States for secondary education, in secondary, we're very isolated. For example, the mathematics teacher stays in the math room with the math department. And then the science teacher is on the other side of the school and is in a different classroom and stays separate. And there's no communication between the two. And so when we talk about STEM, particularly in secondary education, it has to be intentional and it has to be explicit when we want to use this as an approach in our one classroom. Or I could, as a science teacher, get together with the mathematics teacher and say, let's collaborate on a collaborative lesson between each other. That's a little bit different. In elementary, one teacher can use all 4 disciplines in one lesson very easily. In the United States, we've recently incorporated engineering, but I'm going to do a lecture later on engineering education. We've actually included it in our science standards. That means all science teachers have to teach engineering now. So those are combining. How do you teach engineering and science without mathematics? You can't. So it becomes what we call a science and engineering practice in the sciences. But there's a lot of opportunities for math educators to incorporate science as well as engineering to make math less abstract in their classrooms.
Okay, we have 2 more questions right here. The first one is from Farhan Yadi. The question, would you be more detailed in describing that STEM as learning approach for increase the critical thinking in some topic as you teach?
So the question is how to incorporate or focus on critical thinking as a STEM approach. Is that correct? Okay. So one way that we incorporate critical thinking is through argumentation. Argumentation as a practice requires that our students write arguments that are based on evidence. The evidence can be collected through cross-disciplines. They can collect evidence through mathematics, they can present mathematics, or scientific evidence. And that includes critical thinking to be able to form an argument. So we would say students need to be able to make a claim, provide evidence, and then their reasoning and argumentation based on that evidence. And that requires a cross-discipline approach.
Now this one is from Ayu, which is the last question for the session. Humans are social creatures, so education must always touch the social aspect of human, so his or her education is to be advantageous for public. What do you think about this?
I would agree. So remember that we use STEM education as an approach for learning where we put the emphasis on problem solving. Now, in mathematics, we say we're going to solve a problem, but those problems are abstract and referencing, doing a math problem for homework. But what we talk about is finding a problem that the students can connect with in nature that exists, and then using cross disciplines to solve that problem. That becomes highly socialized and very collaborative, as students can work in teams to come up with creative solutions to solving those problems based on evidence, and they can present their problem solving to a classroom. This becomes very socialized and interactive.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Laura. So I think that's all for our presentation today. If I might add a little bit that STEM literacy emphasized on collaboration between all the elements, the science, the technology, engineering, and also mathematics, even art. We know
Yes.
STEM, right? And the bridge in STEM education, as our theme for today, is digital learning, which is you can use online instruction, you can use augmented reality, also games, and the key is for the teacher to learn, to practice, and also not only learn about the technology, but also learning how to use the technology to support the instruction. So thank you so much for Professor Laura Wheeler. Please give big round of applause for Professor Wheeler.
Thank you.
I believe we'll see you again tomorrow and also the next day. But before we end the session, we will have a certificate of appreciation for you, and will be handed. I will give the floor to Miss Novalinga.
All right, thank you so much. Once again, give a big round of applause to our visiting professor, for Laura, and also for the audience, for a very enthusiastic audience. Yeah, there are a lot of questions. All right, now we would like to ask our speaker to remain on the stage, and we also request the coordinator of the general lecture, Dr. Ketangwiono MPD, to join us here to present a certificate of appreciation for our speaker. We also would like to invite Bapak Ismet, Ibu Rita Indrawati, and Professor Kathy. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, a certificate of appreciation for Professor Laura. Would you please to turn around, because we need to take a picture together with the audience here. Turn around, sir. All right. This is the station for the general lecture for math and science with all of the audience here in the room. Pak Kodri, would you please join us here in the front row? Pak Kodri? Yes. Okay, freestyle. All right, thank you so much. Have a seat, please. All right, that concludes our general lecture today. I hope you enjoyed and learned abundant knowledge and information from this general lecture. I would like to thank our speaker once again for her wonderful presentation and for sharing her expertise and insights with us. Once again, let's give her a big round of applause. I would like to thank you, the audience, for your active and enthusiastic participation and contribution during this general lecture. You have asked some very interesting and relevant questions to the topic. and made very insightful and constructive comments too for the moderator. You have made this Stadium General a lively and fruitful exchange of ideas and knowledge. I hope that you find today's Stadium General informative and inspiring for we all. On behalf of the committee, once again, I would like to thank you all for being part of the Stadium General. We hope you had a great time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon in another Stadium General. Have a wonderful day, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone.
Qualitative research workshop for tomorrow. Yes, there will be candy also.